Greetings to all, and welcome to Wisdom Wednesday. Today, we embark on a visual and reflective journey that traverses the landscapes of contentment and consumption. In a world driven by the pursuit of more, where the clamor of consumption often drowns out our essence, we embark on a visual journey from contentment to consumption and back again. This artistic exploration symbolizes the transformative path from excess to equilibrium, reminding us that contentment isn't merely found, but actively created amidst the noise of modern life. Watch as we paint a picture of contentment, only to see it obscured by the darker shades of consumption, reflecting our societal and personal struggles with excess. This exploration is not just about finding contentment, but actively creating it amidst the tumult of modern life. As we navigate this artistic portrayal, we delve deeper into the distinctions between greed and gluttony, two vices at the heart of our discussion today. These are not merely matters of ethical concern, but profound spiritual inquiries that challenge us to reflect on the nature of our desires and the impact of our choices. Both intertwined with the concept of excess, yet manifesting distinctively, compelling us to ponder: is it worse to be labeled greedy or gluttonous? This question beckons a deeper understanding of the two, revealing why, among the 7 deadly sins, they are distinguished rather than merged under a singular banner of excess. Greed is marked by an unending desire for more, be it wealth, power, status, or material possessions. Yet, its grasp extends beyond the tangible, reaching into the realms of recognition, influence over others, and experiential excess. At its core, greed is about accumulation, driven by a profound fear of scarcity or the insatiable quest for surplus, often to the detriment of oneself or others. It is an outward-looking sin, characterized by a yearning for what belongs to others, perpetually unsatisfied with one's holdings. In contrast, gluttony zeroes in on the overindulgence in food and drink, where consumption surpasses the bounds of necessity or enjoyment, veering into wastefulness or self-harm. It represents a misuse of the comfort that sustenance can offer, transforming necessities into vices. Gluttony signifies a relinquishment of control over personal appetites, allowing them to override moderation and gratitude. Unlike greed's focus on accumulation, gluttony is concerned with consumption, often heedless of its impact on oneself or others. In exploring the distinction between greed and gluttony, we uncover a critical insight that resonates deeply within the Lenten theme of reflection and moderation. While both sins embody the excesses that can distract and detract from our spiritual journey, gluttony's direct relationship with consumption is particularly emphasized during Lent, as Lent invites us to contemplate not just on our desires, but the nature of our consumption. It is a period marked traditionally by fasting and abstinence, making gluttony, a sin directly related to consumption, especially relevant. This season calls us to examine not only what we consume in terms of food and drink, but also our consumption of resources, media, and time itself. The difference between greed and gluttony, while nuanced, is significant. Greed is a more general vice, encompassing an insatiable longing for more, be it wealth, power, or material possessions. It looks outward, towards the accumulation of goods or status, often at the expense of others and without consideration for the spiritual emptiness such pursuits may leave behind. Gluttony, in contrast, has a more intimate focus on the body itself. It concerns the physical act of consumption and how this impacts our vessel, the body that houses our spiritual essence. This vessel requires care and respect to function correctly, not just for our physical well-being, but for our spiritual health as well. The products we consume, their quality, and the quantity in which we indulge can directly affect the purity of our vessel. By purity, I refer not solely to religious doctrines, but to the integrity of our body's design and function. Our mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual outputs are potent. They have the capacity to either sustain or deteriorate the body, depending on how closely we adhere to the manufacturer's instructions, so to speak. Our habits of consumption, whether they pertain to the wholesomeness of our food, the quality of media we engage with, or the sheer volume of our intake, can sabotage our systems. This sabotage is not merely about the clutter of our possessions we accumulate, but extends to the more critical ways we clog our arteries and clog our minds. The issue at hand is twofold. While we burden our planet with the products of greed, we inflict harm upon our bodies through gluttony. Both greed and gluttony are dangerous, yet they manifest differently and thus deserve individual attention. In a world increasingly characterized by excess, recognizing the unique challenges posed by gluttony, especially in the context of Lent, encourages us to confront how our habits of consumption affect not only our physical health, but our spiritual well-being and the health of our planet. In today's society, we find ourselves at a crossroads, entrenched in consumerism and battling the consequences of excess. The excess of credit and the normalization of debt have not only facilitated but encouraged a culture of immediate gratification, leading to a form of addiction where the concept of enough seems to have been lost. This environment breeds a unique form of gluttony, not just in the consumption of food, but in our broader appetites for material possessions and experiences, financed by the appeal of credit. The question arises, are individuals solely to blame? Or does this phenomenon reflect a deeper systemic issue? Obesity, disease, and dissatisfaction haunt our increasingly sedentary lifestyles, prompting us to question the adequacy of our education on bodily respect and the cultivation of willpower. Is the trigger for gluttony purely physical, or does it stem from a more complex interplay of societal cues and psychological needs? The solution may lie in a more holistic understanding of our bodies and needs, not as machines requiring fuel, but as beings in search of balance and wellness. The entanglement of greed and gluttony is further complicated by the role of societal structures, governments, financial institutions, and media. They not only facilitate but actively promote a culture of excess. Credit cards, marketed with the promise of freedom and opportunity, often lead consumers down a path of financial and physical gluttony. This raises pivotal questions about accountability and the ethical responsibilities of those who shape our economic and cultural landscapes. But how can we hold these entities accountable when they are the ones instrumental in creating a society that equates happiness with consumption? The silence of influential institutions, including religious organizations, in the face of such systemic encouragement of excess is troubling. It underscores a need for a collective reckoning with the values we promote and the consequences of our consumption habits. A demand for education, transparency, and ethical governance emerges as critical in addressing the root causes of gluttony in the modern age. We must challenge the status quo, advocating for a society that values moderation, sustainability, and well-being over unchecked consumption and profit. This requires a concerted effort to redefine success and satisfaction, not in terms of what we own or consume, but by the quality of our lives and our relationship with others and the planet. By reframing the discourse around gluttony and societal responsibility, we can begin to envision and work towards a future where balance, contentment, and respect for our bodies and environment are the norms, not the exceptions. This shift demands not only individual awareness and change, but also systemic transformations that prioritize the well being of all over the profits of a few. The modern blending of greed and gluttony, particularly through the mechanisms of credit card debt and rampant consumerism, highlights a symbiotic relationship where one vice fuels the other, ensnaring individuals in a cycle of continuous want and consumption. This cycle is exacerbated by societal trends towards upsizing, a manifestation of the belief that more is invariably better, often to the detriment of our health and well-being. The mantra less is more seems lost, yet it is precisely the philosophy that could guide us back to a state of balance and wellness. At the heart of gluttonous behavior lie complex factors, including a lack of education about bodily respect, an environment that fosters indulgence and diminished willpower. These are not merely personal failings, but are significantly influenced by societal norms and pressures that shape our behaviors and choices. Understanding the interplay between personal responsibility and societal influence is crucial in addressing the roots of gluttony, emphasizing the need for a holistic approach to change. The journey from gluttony to moderation requires a multifaceted approach, incorporating mindfulness, comprehensive education, and systemic policy changes. The season of Lent, with its emphasis on reflection, abstinence, and contemplation, serves as a grave reminder of the power of restraint and the value of introspection in achieving a balanced life. This period offers a blueprint for how we might cultivate a culture of moderation and self-awareness that extends beyond the Lenten season and into the fabric of our daily lives. In navigating the complexities of greed and gluttony, we are called to a deeper understanding of these vices, not just as individual sins, but as societal symptoms of broader issues. The distinction between them, while nuanced, underscores the importance of addressing each sin on its own merits, recognizing the unique challenges and solutions they present. As we reflect on the intersection of personal responsibility and societal influence, it becomes clear that the path to overcoming these vices requires both individual commitment and systemic change. By advocating for a society that prioritizes moderation, sustainability, and well-being, we can begin to shift away from the excesses that characterize modern life towards a more balanced and fulfilling existence. This Lenten reflection invites us all to consider how we might move from consumption to contentment, challenging us to rethink our values and the impact of our choices on our spiritual journey, our health, and the world around us. In doing so, we not only address the sins of greed and gluttony, but also pave the way for a future where balance and mindfulness are not exceptions, but the norm. The journey towards understanding and overcoming the vices of greed and gluttony invites us to challenge deeply ingrained perceptions and societal constructs. The notion that we are inherently bound by traits ascribed to us, much like skin color or genetic makeup, suggests a deterministic view of human nature that may limit our potential for transformation. However, if we consider these traits not as fixed assignments, but as tendencies influenced by both nature and nurture, we open the door to growth and change. The analogy of vices being akin to spiritual viruses is particularly compelling. Just as our physical bodies may be predisposed to certain illnesses, our spirits too are susceptible to the maladies of greed, gluttony, and other sins. Yet, acknowledging this susceptibility is not an admission of defeat, but a call to strengthen our spiritual immune system. Society, with its relentless promotion of consumption and competition, often acts as a suppressant to our moral and spiritual defenses, leaving us vulnerable to these vices. The path to resilience, then, may lie in fostering a community of support and mutual dependence, challenging the isolation and individualism that modern society often engenders. By leaning on one another, we can find the strength and resources to consume less, resist the temptations of excess, and redefine our values and priorities. Questions that probe the nature of our habits and desires, such as whether hoarding is a manifestation of greed, or if the tendency to overindulge signifies gluttony, encourage us to confront our behaviors and their underlying motivations. These inquiries are not meant to assign blame, but to spark introspection and dialogue, leading to a deeper understanding of our actions and their impacts. Strengthening our spiritual immunity requires more than just individual effort. It demands a systemic change that addresses the root causes of our societal weaknesses. Education, community support, and policies that promote equity and sustainability can serve as vaccines against the spread of spiritual viruses, empowering us to build a society that nurtures rather than undermines our moral and spiritual well-being. In recognizing the complex interplay between individual predispositions and societal influences, we are called to a collective effort to heal and protect our spiritual selves. This process involves reimagining our relationship with the material world, with each other, and with the divine. Moving towards a reality where virtues of moderation, contentment, and compassion prevail. As we reflect on the themes of Lent and the challenges posed by greed and gluttony, let us embrace the opportunity for deep, transformative change. By examining the roots of our vices and the societal structures that perpetuate them, we can begin to cultivate a spiritual ecosystem that supports healing, growth, and resilience. This Lenten journey is not just about abstaining from excess, but about redefining our engagement with the world and each other, fostering a community that thrives on connection, mutual support, and shared values of simplicity and mindfulness. As we reverse the tide of consumption, revealing once more the vibrant essence of contentment beneath, we are reminded of the power within us to reshape our lives and priorities. This visual journey from contentment through consumption and back again mirrors our own potential for transformation, inviting us to reconsider what truly brings us fulfillment. Let this be a call to action, a reminder to peel away the layers of excess in our lives and rediscover the contentment that lies waiting beneath. Together, let us redefine our values and stride towards life marked not by what we have, but by what we cherish and hold dear. Until next Wisdom Wednesday, when we will explore the final deadly sins of our series. May we all find strength in simplicity and joy in the essence of being.